Hi folks, Jim Swanner here, host of All About Horses and a big fan of Tractor Supply Company. Can't think of a better sponsor for the show because Tractor Supply is all about horses and everything you need for grooming, health, feed, and care. Even more importantly, at Tractor Supply, you get the know-how of their people. They just don't sell you products, they give you advice and answer questions since many of them own and breed horses themselves. Stop by Tractor Supply at 601 US Highway 72 West in Athens and see for yourself. Tell them Jim Swanner sent you. You'll be glad you did. I always am.
After a long, hard day's work on the farm, do something special for yourself. Treat yourself to some of that good, flavor-filled Witt's Barbecue located in Ardmore and Fayetteville, Tennessee. Witt's Barbecue has been smoking up the South since 1966. You know they have the best barbecue around, but you may want to try some of the other items on their menu, such as ribs, stuffed potatoes, or whole smoked chickens. So if you find yourself in Ardmore or Fayetteville, Tennessee, stop by Witt's for the best barbecue around. Weston and Lori Witt will be glad to serve you.
Do you wish you could find a safe environment to learn horseback riding? Wouldn't it be great to learn that such a place exists right here? Well, that place is KIN Stables here in Athens. We offer one-on-one sessions. We don't offer group sessions because we want you to feel and be safe. Whether you're a beginner or beginning again, KIN Stables is where you want to be. KIN Stables is located at 13124 Carter Road in Athens. Give us a call at 874-6781 or visit us at jimswanner.com.
Now back to more All About Horses.
All right, welcome this morning to All About Horses. Before we get started, I always like to tell you about one of our sponsors, Bill Smith Buick GMC in Coleman, Alabama, at 1942nd Avenue Northwest, Coleman, Alabama. Your preferred Buick and GMC dealer, also serving their surrounding communities of Hartsville, Decatur, Madison, Hayden, Hanceville, and Harvest. Whether you live near Huntsville or Birmingham, they have a new Buick, new GMC, or pre-owned car to meet your needs. Check out Bill Smith Buick GMC at the intersection of Highway 157, Highway 31 in Coleman, Alabama, or give them a call at 866-245-8809, 866-245-8809. That is Bill Smith Buick GMC in Coleman, Alabama. Well, my guest this morning is Wade Boelter. And Wade is, I don't know how your title is, but anyway, you're with North Central Alabama Carriage School. And Wade, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you, Jim.
Tell us a little bit about you, about your background, and how you got started in the carriage driving.
Carriage driving was one of the very first things I've learned coming into the sport of equestrian work. I'm a native to Minnesota, and
I knew you didn't have that southern drawl.
Yeah. So I started out driving miniature ponies and Hackney Shetland crosses and Shetland ponies during my apprenticeship with a master farrier. I didn't get into horses until later at the age of 25. We had horses when I was very, very young, and then it just financially really didn't work out for us. And at the age of 25, I had a serious interest in wanting to learn just about everything I could possibly learn about horses because I just love them.
Yeah.
The training, love the sport. So,
Actually, the first thing I fell in love with horses was the smell. Just the smell of the musk of the hair. Yeah.
My earliest memory is my dad standing me in a feed box while he was cleaning a stall. And though that was a little frightening, I really remember it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So having that interest, it just really put me into trying to find ways to learn as much about the training aspects and conditioning. And through my farrier work, I had a chance to visit several different discipline barns, from dressage to pleasure horses, barrel horses, saddle seat barns, Morgans, saddlebreds. And I ended up having really being drawn to the Morgan horse, the saddlebred, and the Arabian pleasure horses. So that's kind of where I come from with that.
The Morgan horse, they're gated horses, right?
Some people do gate them.
Yeah.
There is a gentleman. It's a really small community. I think they're more notorious for being Your park horse is kind of like the peacock of the industry. Trotters, really just trotters.
Yeah.
So,
is it easier? I guess I'm going to say it this way: for a gaited horse to pull a cart, pull a carriage, pull a wagon than it is, say, a quarter horse, or I know there's a lot of draft horses. People have draft horses and of course a draft horse is a well, you got your walkers and your trotters in the draft industry. The Clydesdales being the trotters, and like Percherons being the walkers. But is it easier for a gaited horse to pull a carriage than say a quarter horse? Or smoother, I should say. I don't know how to ask that question.
Well, you're kind of touching on a couple of things. A gaited horse is going to be very engaged. Engagement of the horse is kind of like the passage of dressage. It's a high level of collection and art. I think that the more important thing is just, it's not that one is easier, that a gaited has an easier time over a non-gaited horse. It's, if you're going to select your carriage and select your horse, you need to kind of understand that a horse can actually pull its weight plus half of its weight. So driving horses pull, but they also push. So you have to just kind of take into consideration, if you're driving a very small equine, it's probably going to be better for a child, or unless you have a pair of small equines. If you have a pair of horses or a pair of draft horses, just based on the horse itself is going to determine how well it balances and how well it pulls or pushes.
Yeah, and you say that the horse pushes, and that's kind of right. Not kind of right. It is right. You got everything hooked to the horse, but it's everything is on the front end, and it's pushing that wagon forward.
Yeah, and so it's push pull, and then there ends up being like a freedom phase where it's just balance.
Right. Where both ends meet.
There's no pushing, there's no pulling. It's just moving along.
Right. Yeah.
So, but really boils down to is, do you have a conditioned horse to start in the harness, or do you have a horse that's strong enough, or that has the willingness, or even likes the job?
Yeah.
Those are things to consider, because not every horse wants to be a carriage horse.
That's right. And I want to ask this question: do you find that a lot of people are wanting to go to that industry, the equine industry, and just enjoy riding in a buggy, riding in a surrey, riding, just that kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that a lot of people like to enjoy the outdoors. So, and they have somewhat of an equestrian background, perhaps. We have quite a bit, a large member person would be somebody that is in their retirement years. I mean, carriage driving is for all ages, from young to old. So you have a lot of people that either it's their first introduction to the sport or to the equestrian work and equestrian sport, but then you also have retired professionals who are no longer active in showing the hunter jumpers, and just due to their lifetime experience really just want to enjoy the sport of carriage driving as recreation. Or, there are pleasure driving competitions. There are combined driving competitions. Really, if you want to learn more about what the sport of carriage driving involves, I would suggest that you go to the American Driving Society website, and you'll find just a plethora of information there.
I just want to change gears right here just a second. I'm looking at Facebook Live, and one lady posted that we have no sound, so I don't know if that's something, Ken, that I need doing here on the computer, or I moved the thing on the computer up, or the thing, whatever you call this thing.
Testing, still no sound.
But anyway, we'll continue. So you have a school. So how would the school? How would you go about getting into school or enrolling in the school, and where?
Okay. Right now I have a Facebook page, and I also have a website that I'm developing. I haven't published that yet, but it's just about ready to go. I have advertised through Facebook 5 events that are upcoming for this year. And one is, the first one coming up is March 3rd, and that is going to be a recreational drive and open schooling. I'm going to set up a dressage arena, some cones, and maybe an obstacle. And it's really just to give everybody kind of an introduction and just explore the host farm that I have, which is Miss Sarah Lyles. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's hard to find a location that is willing to open their farm up to facilitate this. You need a very large space. Sarah Lyles is from Paint Rock, Alabama, and she has Paint Rock Equestrian Center, formerly Dixie Paints.
Yeah. So in these events, of course, everybody that they're not going to have driving horses. Can they come and just observe and
yes,
and
absolutely
see what it's about, and just are you going to be doing a seminar or a clinic or teaching or explaining what what is involved in getting in the school?
You bet. I also encourage you to. I'm thinking that the listeners that we have right now are from Alabama, but there may be some listeners that are from out of state. So if you go to your American Driving Society website, you'll find several clubs all over the United States and in Canada. And through those clubs, you'll find published events. Middle Tennessee Carriage Club is a club I've been working with, and Neshoba Club, and both of those are from Tennessee. They have a full calendar of events throughout the year where you will actually be able to go and see the true competition, something that's very well organized. My school is set up for very much beginners. It's clinician based. I could have different levels of education provided, but right now, since this is our first launch year, I'm just kind of looking at recreation and then just a basic introduction. I am going to be bringing clinicians in and advertising a clinician event, which will be classroom combined with practical experience. I think that when you visit a carriage driving sport in the form of either pleasure driving or combined driving or driven dressage, it's kind of hard for people to understand how they can get involved unless they have a show barn near them or a driving instructor near them. So the school really is to help develop the Alabama equestrian community and promote education. It's really a community development project. And the host farm that I have for this year is located just east of Huntsville and west of Scottsboro. That's where you'll find Paint Rock.
Go ahead.
I'm from Collinsville, Alabama, so I live on Lookout Mountain. That puts me up in the northeast corner, and that was the whole driving point of developing a north-central location in Alabama to promote carriage driving, not only because of my location and the ability for me to move there and to work on that project, but also because that's the best location for the chance of most participation between Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama.
Okay. All right, guys, we're up on a break right here, but first I want to tell you about Spurs Big Fix. Spurs is a multi-purpose wound, skin, hoof antiseptic for livestock and pets. You can get Spurs Big Fix at spursbigfix.com, SPURRSbigfix.com, or you can give them a call at 256-412-8600. Or here in North Alabama, you can get it at KIN Stables. You can give me a call at 256-874-6781, and we'll get you fixed up. Y'all stay tuned. We'll be right back.
All about horses.
Spry Funeral Home reminds you that one of the wisest decisions you'll ever make is to pre-plan your funeral. Spry Funeral Home offers pre-planning, complete funeral arrangements, and honors all burial and cash policies. Founded by S.L. Spry in 1919, Spry Funeral Home has always believed that service to you is their first priority. Now in the third generation of Sprys, Greg and Jimmy invite you to call them at 232-2622. or stop by their facilities on Highway 72 to find out more about how you can prearrange your funeral. Spry Funeral Home.
1 potato, 2 potato, 3 potato, 4, 5 potato, 6 potato. Hey folks, this is Jim Swanner, host of All About Horses. You don't have to play a child's game when choosing a heating and cooling company. Simply call Allen Brown Heating and Cooling at 256-232-4844. They are good, honest people doing reliable work. Whether you're cold and need heat, or whether you're hot and need cool, call Allen Brown Heating and Cooling at 256-232-4844. You'll be glad you did.
Now back to more All About Horses.
All right, welcome back to All About Horses. Sorry, guys, we're Facebook Live. We don't have any sound. Don't know what's going on. We've been trying to work on it during the break, and we just can't figure out what's going on. But we will get it remedied this week somehow. Even if I have to step outside and yell out or something, I don't know. But anyway, we're talking today with Wade Boelter, and Wade is with North Central Alabama Carriage School, and we're talking about his experience in carriage driving and some of the clinics he has coming up and how you can get involved in it. And if you feel that you may have an interest in learning carriage drive, he's going to give his information again in a little bit about the clinics that he has coming up. Then you can just come observe. If you even like watching this, and one of the things, of course, is not carriage driving, but it kind of is these chuck wagon races. I mean, those are I don't know if y'all do anything like that, the way, but that is of course, the horse has to know how to pull, and I'm sure he'll be going over how to teach a horse to pull, and I kind of want to go in that direction. Wade, is where do you start? When you're starting to teach a horse to pull a carriage or pull anything, how do you what's some of the first steps you go through?
Okay, I can answer that. Your question about how does the carriage school relate to chuck wagon races is that our school is and academics are set up in accordance with the American Driving Society rule book, which is the governing body, the official driving horse governing body affiliated with the U.S. Equestrian, formerly known as United States Equestrian Federation. So there are certain things that we're obviously not going to be doing. We're really based on dressage, cones, and obstacles. Obstacles that can also be kind of considered hazards, though nobody really says hazards anymore. It's more about obstacles.
Yeah. So it's a lot of precision driving.
It is. It is a combination of faults, penalties, and time. So, so to go back to your original question about starting a driving horse, how would you start?
Right.
I think that it's good to have a horse that is broke, that is also riding at the same time. You need a horse that is really okay with the world. So, it kind of, some of your natural horsemanship, I know that you do some training and you've worked with a few driving horses yourself, Jim, but, you can incorporate a lot of that, because when a horse is out there on the road, your number one concern is safety.
Yeah.
So, starting a horse out, I think I would start with working them in a circle and working with them on the lunge line, not just to use that as your beginning, but also you're constantly conditioning your horse to develop the strength and the stamina to be able to do the work. Your next line in thought is introducing the bit, which involves introducing the surcingle and long lining, and then ground driving. Ground driving can also turn into pulling a stone boat or something of that nature. And then at the time when you've decided that your horse is confident, ready, working well, bending, turning, maybe you've had some type of desensitizing harness placed on him so he knows how to push into shafts, and to have shafts hit not only on his shoulder but on his haunches, that you're ready to go ahead and bring the cart to him and putting him to.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that you have at a minimum of 3 people with you, or even sometimes 4.
Yeah.
2 at the head, and 1 at the back of the carriage, and then you are obviously going to be on the ground before you get into the carriage.
Right.
So that type of thing.
Obviously, you have more experience in teaching horses to drive than I do, and I was following along with your comments, and that's kind of how I'd never taught a horse to drive. I thought, well, it's got to be simple. I don't mean that.
No, that's okay.
But you have to teach the horse to be confident. You have to desensitize the horse to certain areas of the body. You have to desensitize the horse to sounds, feeling weight, not where he don't feel trapped. And had one guy tell me, well, when the horse feels that strap on his hock, he's going to bolt. That's what mine won't. And the reason I said that is because I'm going to prepare that horse to do before I ever hook him to that carriage. And in my experience of doing this, and not pat myself on the back, so to speak, but I thought, well, this is pretty cool because it surprised me. The first time I ever hooked the horses up to a carriage, it was like he'd been pulled it 6 months.
That's great.
And of course, before I hooked it to a carriage, I hooked it up to a section hair and grew my arena.
Yeah.
Before I hooked it up to a carriage.
Yeah, I don't want to discourage anyone from working horses from their own home. I think that all you need to do is just have a good, grounded sense in horsemanship and how you introduce your horses to new things. It all follows the same line of starting them to drive. You're obviously not going to take a carriage and a harness and just put them all together without having done your foundation horsemanship and preparation.
Yeah.
So,
well, and you said a key word right there, preparation.
Yeah.
Anything we do, you got to prepare. You just can't go do it.
Yep, you need an engaged horse that is forward and has throughness, and a horse that is okay with the world, really.
Yeah, you can't have one that's spooky. And this is something that I didn't do when I was teaching horses to drive. I never used it. Was the blinders. And what are those for? Well, I know what they're for, but explain to the audience what they're for. But I never used them, never saw a need to.
Yeah, well, so if you follow the pleasure horse shows, you'll see that there are several 2-year-old classes that involve young horses that are driving. So the blinders are really to kind of keep the vision forward and to help eliminate some of the distractions on the side. But, I've come across all different kinds of people doing all different types of things when it comes to training their own horse. I think that what you need to do is understand that the emphasis is always on safety. When you're training and conditioning the driving horse, you need it's best to have a second person, and don't forget to carry a halter in your carriage and lead rope. If not, having the halter over the bridle of the horse that you're driving.
One thing I did, of course, drive lines. Of course, I use 22-foot ropes on the drive lines, and you teach the horse to move off that pressure from behind. Actually, you do that before you when you're teaching one for riding also, because you're going to be behind the horse, so to speak, when you're in the saddle. But I had a cart and on wheels, like a little buggy, you with a tongue on it, and what I did was I was driving the horse. I got the owner of the horse to sit on the cart, and I had the rope tied around, well, not the driving reins, but like the harness tied around the chest of the horse, and they just kind of sat on the cart and wrapped it around the tongue one time and held it, and the horse would pull that cart, and I said, now if something happens, you open your hand, let that rope go, and then it'll pull the cart, it'll turn loose the cart. So that's kind of how I got started in getting a horse to pull, and if something happens, they just open and they're sitting there on the cart, and the horse is out here, and I'm still working with the horse.
Okay. Yeah, I think that when you talk about training horses, you have to understand that horse training involves everyone's own personal method, and, I don't discourage anybody from doing how they process it and how they introduce it. I mean, horse training is a very personal thing.
Yeah, it is. So we're have much more time, but I want to get into.
I want to. Okay, I have fallen out of my carriage.
Oh,
yes. So that does happen. It It was when I was going through a water crossing, and then my horse. He was totally bomb-proof. I had no idea though that he did not really know water until I got into the obstacle.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we came up out, we ended up going off of a concrete slab covered in water down into the pond, and then as we came up out of the pond, my carriage tipped, and it's not that you just fall off your carriage or you fall out, it's that your carriage can actually go over things, and it'll actually just toss you right out, because I was actually sitting in my carriage, and then I was standing in the water next to my horse. But I did not lose my long lines.
Yeah.
Another important thing is never tie your body in a restraint to your carriage.
No. You don't have a seatbelt in there.
Oh, and a very important thing is that very recently I've been directly introduced to this paradriving sport, which is carriage driving for persons with disabilities.
Oh, neat.
Yes, and the driving sport is open to people who are legally blind, in a wheelchair, or that have to use adaptive equipment on their hands to hold their reins.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is. Yep.
That's great. Yeah. So nobody's excluded.
No, nobody's excluded.
Yeah, that's good.
And all breeds are able to compete in the sport. Where you get into a little bit of a special situation would be if you have gaited horses that are driving.
Yeah.
Because you're judged, in dressage on your gaits, and trot is number one. So you need a horse that can two-beat. If you got a three-beated horse, you can go ahead and enter the competitions. Just know you're not going to score as high as the other horses that are in the same class. Now, the American Driving Society, if they have enough gaited horses, they will create a class just on gaited horses. And so then you get into more of the fun.
So they're a little bit more flexible.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So nobody's excluded.
Yeah.
No horses. Draft horses, mules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want you to give your information again. I want you to tell about the clinics that you have coming up this year, how someone can get into it, if they just want to come and watch, where they are, your information, your contact information, so people can get in touch with you and get more information on this.
You bet. So NCACS, North Central Alabama Carriage School. You can find me on Facebook. I have a website that is going to launch very soon. I'm just not ready to publish it yet. And also, if you want to follow the Middle Tennessee Carriage Club and the Neshoba Club, Middle Tennessee is just, as it says, it's just south of Nashville. The Neshoba Club is around Memphis. Go there, watch. They have a full calendar during the year. Watch one of those sports. What I'm launching is really, right now, for this year, it's just for beginners, and it's really to try and get Alabamans together.
Yeah.
So we have some venues because Alabama always just kind of struggles, and there are a few driving forces like the Alabama Horse Council that I'm 100% behind.
Thank you.
So, it's just all of us working together.
Yeah. And you said that the horse industry as a whole, we're a group. We don't segregate. We won't say, well, the quarter horse people here, the walking horse people here. We're all in this thing together. We're all the equines, and we try to. And you mentioned the Alabama Horse Council, and we do try to promote all horse breeds. It's not one breed or this breed or it's not riding horses or carriage driving, and we promote all breeds and all activities with horses. The obstacle challenges, trail riding. Actually, there's a big trail ride coming up April 27th, 8th, and 9th in Jasper, and it is being filmed for RFD TV, but it's man, my mind just went dead.
Well, I like you brought up the obstacle.
Best of America by horsepower.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but anyway, Wade, I want to thank you for being on today and being with the telling us about the North Central Alabama Carriage School and carriage driving. And give your contact information right quick.
Wade Boelter, phone number 507-304-0035. Email belter.wade@gmail.com.
All right. Wade, thank you very much. And, folks, I'm sorry about the sound on Facebook Live, but we will get that fixed. And maybe to come in on the replay. We'll check that out. All right? Y'all tune in again next week for another All About Horses.
Join us next week and visit JimSwanner.com to learn more all about horses.